In episode 17 of I Know a Guy, I sit down with Gastonia starting pitcher Jake Miednik. You better dig in, because here comes the Jewish Missile. Our guest today is from Coral Springs, Florida, attended Florida Atlantic University, drafted by Cleveland in 2018, currently a starting pitcher for Gastonia. I know a guy, and his name is Jake Miednik. Jake, how's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, thanks for coming on. Jake, that was a wild walk-off victory once again. Eric De La Rosa, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, opposite field, 3-run homer. You guys are now 68-32. That was the 10th walk-off of the season. Does it just cease to amaze you?
Honestly, at this point, we expect it, when we look up at the scoreboard and sure, we're down. It doesn't matter what we're down in the ninth. We just kind of know it's all right. Like, we're just going to walk it off. And then, especially for Eric, we kind of have this, banter going back and forth. And before that at bat, between me and him, I tell him from a show that we watch called The Chosen, I tell him one of the lines from the show, and then he gets in his zone, and then for him to do that, it's kind of just expected. I'm happy for him, of course.
On this podcast, he said he has his own secret language with his teammates. Is that
100%.
what you're talking about in terms of The Chosen? Or?
Yeah, he's got all sorts of slang and this, that, and the other, where if you heard it from the outside, you'd be like, what is this guy talking about? But we all know exactly what he's talking about. It's pretty funny.
Jake, you were born in Plattsburgh, New York, went to high school in Florida. When did you move to Florida?
I moved to Florida probably when I was 3. I spent all my schooling down in South Florida from, honestly, preschool. So I don't know if that's 3. But preschool to, obviously, the rest of my life.
Do you have any connection to New York, or is it just Florida guy through and through?
No, we still got some family in New York, some family in Long Island. I've had a bunch of family still in Jersey and things like that.
Do you think playing in Florida is an advantage? I know a lot of baseball players come from Florida, especially on this team. There are a lot from Florida because you could play year-round.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and you see it just more and more, the talent down there in South Florida. Again, yeah, luckily with the weather and people just playing year-round, when a lot of guys, especially in pro ball, how'd your off-season go? Well, I threw inside the whole time in my basement because it's snowing, and my shirt's off and I'm getting the tan down in South Florida, getting to play catch. So yeah, down there it's no joke, and a lot of good guys have come through.
Was there a moment in your life when you knew you wanted to be a pro baseball player for your career?
Yeah, growing up, football, basketball, and baseball. Personally, I thought my best sport was football, but growing up, being left-handed, you always hear, hey, you're a lefty, you're a lefty, you're a lefty. And I could throw pretty hard. So I would say, yeah, from a young age, I knew I would be a pro, but I just didn't know what sport. And the way things always work out, luckily, it was baseball.
What position did you play in football?
A little bit of running back, some slot receiver, a little bit of DB, some safety. For me personally, I love just the balls in my hand. I love that.
Jack of all trades.
Yes, sir.
Well, Jake, you mentioned this. The saying is, as long as you're a left-hander, you always have a spot in baseball. Do you look at being a southpaw as an advantage for you?
Absolutely, especially the way the game's going, with velocity being as high as it's ever been. Yes, as a lefty, you still want to throw hard, and I care about velocity just as everybody else. But I think as a lefty, we do have a little bit of leeway where we don't have to be throwing as hard as the right-handers and things like that, because we are still rare, as so to speak. So left-handed is still a blessing. And when I see young guys at the park or something and I see a lefty, I tell them, hey, man, that's, it's a rare thing, and be proud to be a lefty.
You're having a great season this year. I'm sure you're proud of that. 4-0, 3.27 ERA, 29 appearances, now 3 starts on the year. What's going right for you this season?
Just getting into the groove. Thank the Lord that I'm healthy. So I feel when I'm healthy, I get to be at my best. And, once you're in rhythm, things just start to flow. got a great defense. They help me out a lot as well sometimes. Of course, we got to get those strikeouts up because, again, that's how to get back into, pro ball.
Yeah, certain numbers that scouts look at, strikeouts, miles per hour, of course, exit velocity for hitters.
Right, and it's starting at such a young age, too. You see, like, a bunch of, from, like, the youth side of things, it's no longer just seeing, it's just all numbers, exit velo, just send me a TrackMan report. So the game's adapting to the analytical side from very young. So it's pretty unique to see all that.
Well, Jake, another stat that scouts might look at, ERA+. Your ERA+ is 200. That's elite, especially in this league. You got off to a rough start this year, 4 runs in your first 5 2/3, but you have been pretty much dominant since then. Do you look at stats like ERA+ and get encouraged and, have more faith in your stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I have always loved to pride myself on stats because, to me, I think that it does tell a story, so to speak. Now, stats isn't obviously everything. You can be working on things and things like that. And obviously this game is hard, so you can fluctuate. But, yeah, like ERA+, and there's certain analytical things that the stats, yeah. So I love looking at my numbers because it's telling me, it'll just help me continue to push myself and say, hey, we still have room to get better in certain aspects.
Also, plus stats are always going to be in the favor of Gastonia pitchers here at Caramon Health Park. 304 out to left field. So
yeah, it's a tough one.
Jake, you throw 5 pitches. You've thrown 5 pitches this year. 4-seamer, curveball, slider, sinker, and change. Mainly the 4-seamer and the curve. How do you usually go into each at-bat? What's your approach usually? Is it just start them off with a fastball? Sometimes start them off pitching backwards? How do you usually go into the average at-bat?
I mean, I put a lot of trust into our catchers. Most of the time so far I've thrown to Gonzo. So me and him, off the field, talk about a lot of those things and have some sort of a game plan where he knows my stuff at this point. For me, learning my stuff when I was in Cleveland, utilizing the analytical stuff to know, hey, my ball might play best here in a certain situation. And for the most part, we see a lot of the same guys, so they might see you a lot, but you also see them. So everyone's different, and also it's just based off like feel. Sometimes Gonzo might put a certain pitch down, and you'll shake it off because with the conviction that what pitch you want to go with. So to me, it could be a blessing and a curse, maybe but any pitch at any time for me. So I'll just throw whatever he puts down.
First 26 appearances for you this season out of the pen. Transitioning into a starter now, how has that been transitioning from the bullpen to the starting rotation? Honestly,
it's been a challenge mentally because I loved the fact of coming out of the pen, hey, it's 1 inning. Let's, gas pedal all the way down. Let's just go ahead and air it out right here, right now. But, I've started my whole life up until I did get into pro ball. So it's kind of... It's weird. The first one, it felt like I was back at home when I was starting. It was like just a familiar routine, and I do love it. I love doing either or, whatever the team needs, and I'm just blessed that I can do both. And yeah, it's been fun.
Is the plan for you to stay in the rotation all the way up until the postseason?
At this point, I would say so. Especially, I've thrown the most pitches that I've thrown since college, actually, the last 2 starts. Could be more efficient so I could go deeper in the game, but yeah, at this point I would say I'm built up, and so whatever the team needs at this point, I'm ready to do it.
On episode 1, we talked about Aroldis Chapman, the fact that you loved him growing up, wanted to throw hard because of him, posted on Twitter last year because he was your role model. Did you see the 105-mile-an-hour fastball he threw to strike out Machado?
It's insane. The guy's 35 years old, knock on wood, never been hurt. Everybody's going to go through little nicks and crannies, but for him, nothing major, which is insane to be the king of velocity for as long as he's been doing that. It's beyond impressive, and obviously he's a freak of nature. It's like a bodybuilder out there almost, and he's still as flexible, and him just throwing 105 at 35 years old is insane.
I heard someone say one of the most gifted just things in sports as Aroldis Chapman's left arm. I 100% agree with that.
Absolutely.
Not only did you love him growing up, you formed a nickname around him. The Jewish Missile is your new nickname. How do you come up with that?
I like to have fun with the guys, obviously. So, and joking around, I would always say I'm trying to be like Chapman, because everyone wants to throw hard. So one day I was just like, you know what? He's the Cuban Missile. I said, so I'm the Jewish Missile. And then it kind of stuck, and now everyone does call when I'm in the locker room, hey, what's up, Missile? What's up, Missile? So, it's cool that the guys respect that to call me that and play around with me as well, and it's nice.
Well, obviously, it's very rare to be Jewish in baseball. Only 188 players who are Jews in MLB history, roughly 1% of all MLB players. Do you have any Jewish baseball role models growing up?
Of course, first one that comes to mind, Sandy Koufax. Again, lefty pitcher, obviously one of the greats to ever touch the baseball. The fact that he would take off on certain holidays and really keep up the traditions of what it is to be Jewish, and so he's for sure the first one that comes to mind.
Now, I talked with Jacob Robson, who was on Team Canada in the 2023 WBC. You were on Team Israel. I know you didn't pitch, but how was the experience being on the roster?
Oh, it was amazing. It was that's just a dream come true to have my name on that roster. A feeling of pride in a good way to be able to represent, just what it is to be Jewish and playing baseball and everything that, we've gone through in history. So having a chance to have my name attached to that is, honestly, it's a dream come true.
Jake, of course, the 2024 Olympics just came to a conclusion. 2028 Olympics are in the United States of America in L.A. If you had your choice, would you rather pitch for Team USA or Team Israel?
Oof.
Tough question, I know.
That is a tough question. I would just probably have to say Israel.
Okay.
Again, just the tradition and just being able to be a part of such a small group to be able to do that. I feel like that's a little bit more rare, and for me, that would feel a little bit more fulfilling.
Now, Jake, you talked on episode 1 about how you went to FAU, watched the tournament run last season with March Madness. You said you wish you were still with FAU for that during all the team success. And you also talked to me on the side about putting some money down potentially, not in baseball, don't worry, not in baseball, but in other sports like basketball. How often do you sports bet?
I try not to, but sometimes when you're bored and it's like, wait a minute, I got a feeling on a certain game. Here we go. But yeah, for that run that they had, I just so happened to be out at a restaurant and I saw that the game was coming on, and I just said to myself, because the place was getting packed and I had no clue that they were playing, and I said, "There's no way they're losing today." Because I just felt the energy in there. So I went on the phone real quick and on like the Hard Rock app or whatever, and put some money down on them, and the boys came through. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a big time gambler, but I got some feelings every now and then.
So you're not an addict, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely not.
That's good to hear.
Absolutely not. Maybe sometimes on the UFC fights.
Okay, UFC, got it.
Yeah.
Jake, we have a segment on this podcast called Cool Connections. It's based on household names in baseball that you've played with, that you've gotten to know personally. I saw on Instagram, Steven Kwan, Yainer Diaz, James Karinchak, I'll follow you. Do you have any player you've played with, maybe one of those three, maybe not, that you've just gotten to know really personally over the years?
Yeah, getting to play with, like you said, all three of those guys. Me and James keep in touch a lot. We talk almost every day or so. We have like a little joke, I call him my son, he calls me his son, but we know who's who. And so we became real tight in 2019 and able to keep that friendship all the way through. Growing up, I got to play with Jesus Luzardo. We live like 2 minutes from each other in South Florida. So during the off season, we spent a bunch of time together. Colton Welker, another guy I grew up with who made it to the show. We spent a lot of time together as well in the off season in Little League, and I went to Cooperstown with him as well. Jonathan India, we've had some good times together as well. So there's a good amount.
That's a cool connection with Karinchak. Just text almost every day, sunning each other, trying to sun each
he's
other.
a good dude. That's my boy. Everyone asks, is he, they see clips on, when he's coming off the mound and doing his antics and stuff. Is he like that all the time? What you see is what you get. He's just a good dude who's trying to be the best, and I think that's why we connect on such a we just connect and we understand each other. His nickname is like XL Dog. He's a dog. I would consider myself a dog on the field, like just two guys just trying to be the best.
If you could implement one rule change in baseball, what would it be?
Oof. Honestly, the pitch clock. I understand it does help the game and the pace of play, but there is times where you just look up and it's just like, dude, sometimes you do need that breath and it take a second and without having to call time, and then you're wasting a timeout, and that's things like that. So I would say the pitch clock, to be honest.
Today, Victor Campellon was taking it all the way down to 1 second, whereas Brian Blanton, an inning later, was just catch and throw right away. So it's just very interesting within the span of an inning today to see the difference.
It could help because sometimes some guys need to get going and get in a rhythm. Hey, let's just get going, and you don't have time to think about things from the pitch to pitch. But there's in some big moments you do need to step off, take some deep breaths, and then also even like a hold. Like, so for me, I would say the pitch clock.
I might know the answer to this because you may have given it up already earlier in this episode. If you can go back and meet one baseball player who played before the 21st century, who would it be?
Oof. Sandy's a good one. But
Doesn't have to be him.
How do you not say like Babe Ruth?
There you go.
It's that legend of that name is around since I was a kid, in the Sandlot and things like that. So how do you not say Babe Ruth and what he's done for this game?
It's a good movie, The Sandlot.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Speaking of movies, Interstellar is your favorite movie. It is a top 5 favorite movie of mine. Love Interstellar. I think it's one of the greatest ever made. What do you love about it?
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I would say, I like to do some research, and then researching that, I guess scientists didn't necessarily rule out that movie is like quote unquote fake or just the realm of possibilities. So that's intriguing to see things like that, and it just makes you think. And I like to think about that type of stuff. It's just very interesting, and I was in the movie theater just locked in, just like, what the heck? It was sick.
Christopher Nolan really makes you think.
That he does. He makes good movies.
Do you like his other movies? What other movies are in your top rankings of list, I guess?
Well, of course, Batman, all the Batmans that he's done. So, and I like to see, certain, things like, oh, he's coming back. Well, is Christian Bale going to come back? And things like that. I'm a movie junkie. Me and my brother, we could have a conversation just like in movie quotes from any movie at any time. So it's good.
I'm the same way with mine.
Yeah, it's funny.
You like Oppenheimer?
Actually, to be honest, I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, everyone has. I wanted to get to it. It's kind of tough just to get around to it right now.
Jake, of course, the team doing What If Takeover homestands just had number 5 this past weekend is the Gastonia Zombies. You have a favorite team name so far?
I like the Zombies. I think the Gastronauts was my favorite one. Some guys I liked the all red jerseys and pants. Some guys didn't like it being all red and things like that. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably say the Gastronauts as of now.
I like that. That's, I think, my number 2.
Yeah.
Galactic Dinos 1, Gastronauts 2 for me, I think.
Yeah, the Galactic one was good too. I would probably say it's 1A, 1B there.
All right. What's the goal for you while you're here?
To utilize, again, like I said, it's such a blessing for me to be healthy. My goal, finish up this season healthy. The good Lord's blessed me with health, so just utilize the gifts he's given me. As far as goals, of course, get back into affiliated baseball. I feel like I have. It's funny, a lot of people that I speak to and things like that, like, you know, you're at this point where it's like, oh, are you're still playing and things like that, and the answer for me is always going to be, yeah, I'm still going, because I feel like I have a lot left in the tank as far as my career, and I still feel like I got a lot more room to just keep improving and going up. So for me, my goal, of course, is to get back to affiliated baseball.
Well, the numbers speak for themselves. You clearly still have it. 4-0, 3.27 ERA. About to make your fourth start this coming week. Jake, thanks so much for hopping on the podcast. I had a blast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.